Ada was about to surprise her husband with dinner when his phone suddenly lit up on the table. One message appeared on the screen. "I'm pregnant. What are we going to tell your wife?" And in that moment, Ada realized her marriage was already over. She had spent the entire evening cooking his favorite meal, jollof rice, fried chicken, and peppered plantain. The small dining table in their apartment looked warm and welcoming, the kind of place where a loving husband would come home and smile. Chinedu had been working late for weeks, and Ada wanted tonight to feel special. She carried the food toward the table when his phone suddenly lit up beside his laptop. Ada didn't mean to look, but the message appeared clearly on the screen. "I'm pregnant. What are we going to tell your wife?" The plate in Ada's hand slipped. It crashed onto the floor. For a moment, Ada thought maybe she had read it wrong. Maybe her eyes were playing tricks on her. But the phone buzzed again. Another message appeared. "You promised you would leave her." Ada felt the air leave her lungs. Her husband had another woman, and that woman was pregnant. 3 minutes later, Chinedu walked into the apartment whistling happily. He stopped when he saw the broken plate on the floor and Ada standing still beside the table. "What happened?" he asked. Ada said nothing. Her eyes slowly moved to the phone on the table. Chinedu's smile faded. He quickly grabbed the phone, but it was already too late. Ada had seen everything. "What is it?" he asked nervously. Ada's voice came out calm, too calm. "Who is she?" Chinedu froze. "What do you mean?" Ada pointed at the phone. "The woman who is pregnant." Silence swallowed the room. Chinedu's face turned pale. "Ada, it's not what you think." Ada laughed, but there was no joy in the sound. "That's funny," she said quietly, "because the message seems very clear." Chinedu rubbed his forehead. "It's complicated." Ada felt something inside her chest crack. "Complicated?" she whispered. "Yes," he said quickly, "but it's not serious. It was just a mistake." "A mistake?" Ada repeated slowly. "Sleeping with another woman is now a mistake?" Chinedu tried to step closer to her. "Ada, please calm down. Don't touch me." Her voice sliced through the air. For the first time since their marriage began, Chinedu looked afraid of her. "How long?" Ada asked. He hesitated. That hesitation told Ada everything. "How long?" she asked again. 6 months, he admitted quietly. Ada closed her eyes. 6 months. For half a year, he had been lying to her. Half a year of pretending. Half a year of kissing her goodnight after leaving another woman's bed. Ada felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to cry. Instead, she walked to the chair and sat down slowly. "So, what's the plan?" she asked. Chinedu frowned. "What?" "The baby," Ada said. "What are you planning to do about it?" Chinedu ran his hands through his hair. "I don't know yet." Ada nodded slowly. Then she said something that made him uncomfortable. "Call her." Chinedu stared at her. "No." "Call her," Ada repeated. "Ada, this is not necessary." Her voice became cold. "Call her or I will." Chinedu reluctantly dialed the number. The phone rang twice before a woman answered. "Hello, baby?" Ada's stomach twisted. She grabbed the phone from Chinedu's hand. "Hello?" Ada said. There was silence on the other end. "Who is this?" the woman asked. "My name is Ada," she replied. Another pause. "And who are you?" the woman asked cautiously. Ada's voice remained steady. "I'm Chinedu's wife." The silence that followed felt like thunder. Then the woman whispered, "Wife?" Ada nodded, even though she couldn't see her. "Yes. And the baby you say you are carrying," Ada's voice tightened, "belongs to my husband." Suddenly, the woman's tone changed. What are you talking about? Chinedu told me he was divorced. Ada slowly turned to look at her husband. Chinedu looked like a man whose secrets had just exploded in his face. You told her you were divorced? Ada asked quietly. Chinedu sobbed nothing. The woman on the phone began to sound angry. Chinedu, what is she talking about? Ada handed the phone back to him. I think the two of you have a lot to discuss. Chinedu tried to explain, but Ada was no longer listening. Her mind had already begun to put the pieces together. Her husband had not just cheated. He had lied to two women at the same time. But something else was bothering Ada. Something strange. Something she couldn't explain yet. The woman had sounded too shocked, too confused, almost like she had no idea Ada even existed. And that meant one thing. Chinedu had been living two completely different lives. 2 days later, Ada decided to meet the woman. Her name was Amara. She was younger than Ada had expected, maybe 25. Beautiful. But the moment Amara saw Ada, her face was filled with embarrassment. I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was married. Ada studied her carefully. She could see the fear in the young woman's eyes. You really didn't know? Ada asked. Amara shook her head. No. He told me he had been divorced for 2 years. Ada felt anger rising again, not towards Amara, but towards her husband, the man who destroyed 2 lives with his lies. Then Amara said something unexpected. There's something else you should know. Ada looked up. What? Amara hesitated. Then she whispered the words that would change everything. The baby might not even be his. Ada blinked. What? Amara sighed. I only told him that because I wanted to see how he would react. Ada stared at her. You lied? Amara nodded slowly. Yes. And the moment I told him, he started talking about leaving you. Ada felt her chest tighten. He said he would marry me instead. Ada sat back in her chair. The truth was worse than she had imagined. Her husband had not just betrayed her. He had been ready to replace her, just like that, like she was nothing. Ada stood up slowly. Thank you for telling me the truth. Amara looked worried. What are you going to do now? Ada thought about her husband, about the lies, the cheating, the second life he was planning. Then she said something quietly. I'm going to end it. That night, Chinedu came home to an empty apartment. The closets were empty, the drawers were cleared, and on the table was one envelope. Inside were divorce papers and a single note. You didn't just lose your wife today. You lost the only person who truly loved you. Chinedu sank into the chair. For the first time in months, he finally understood what he had done. But by then, it was already too late. Chinedu sat in this silent apartment for a long time, staring at the note Ada had left behind. The words kept replaying in his mind. You didn't just lose your wife today. You lost the only person who truly loved you. For the first time since everything started, the reality of what he had done began to sink in. The apartment felt strange without Ada. Too quiet, too empty. Her favorite slippers were gone from beside the couch. The small flower vase she loved had disappeared from the table. Even the kitchen smelled different. She had taken everything that made the place feel like home. Chinedu rubbed his face with both hands. He had expected anger, screaming, maybe even a fight. But this silence was worse, because silence meant she was truly done. Meanwhile, Ada sat in the backseat of a taxi heading across town. Her suitcase rested beside her. She stared out the window as the streetlights passed by. Her mind was strangely calm. 2 days ago, she had been a married woman planning dinner for her husband. Now, she was living the life she had known for 6 years. The driver glanced at her through the mirror. Madam, are you sure this is the address? Ada nodded. Yes. The taxi stopped in front of a small apartment building. Her older sister, Ifunanya, opened the door before Ada could even knock. The moment she saw the suitcase, her face changed. Ada, What happened? Ada forced a small smile. Can I stay here for a while? Ifunaya didn't ask another question. She simply pulled her sister into a tight hug. Of course. And that was the moment Ada finally broke down. Tears she had been holding back for days poured out of her. Not just tears of pain, but tears of betrayal. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of believing she was building a future with someone who loved her. And now, she realized she had been building that future alone. Back at the apartment, Chinedu's phone rang. He looked at the screen. Amara. He hesitated before answering. Hello? Her voice sounded cold. I heard from Ada. Chinedu sighed. I can explain. Explain what? Amara snapped. That you lied to both of us? Chinedu rubbed his forehead. I didn't mean for things to get this messy. Amara laughed bitterly. Messy? You destroyed a marriage. And you almost dragged me into your lives too. Chinedu said nothing. Amara's voice softened slightly. Did you ever love her? The question hit him harder than he expected. He opened his mouth to answer, but the truth stuck in his throat. Because the answer was complicated. He had loved Ada once, but somewhere along the way he had started taking that love for granted. Amara sighed. I'm done with this, Chinedu. The call ended. Chinedu stared at the phone. In 1 week, he had lost both women. Weeks passed. Ada slowly began to rebuild her life. She started focusing on her work again. She spent more time with her sister. Little by little, the pain began to fade. But some nights were still difficult. There were moments when memories of her marriage would return unexpectedly. The way Chinedu used to make her laugh, the late-night conversations, the dreams they had shared. Those memories hurt the most because they reminded her of the man she thought she married, not the man he turned out to be. One evening, Ada was leaving her office when she heard a familiar voice behind her. Ada? She froze. Slowly, she turned around. Chinedu stood a few feet away. He looked different, more tired, more worn down. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he finally said the words he had been carrying for weeks. I'm sorry. Ada studied his face. There was regret there, real regret. But something inside her already changed. Sorry doesn't fix what you did, she said calmly. I know. I just needed you to hear it. Ada nodded slowly. For the first time since everything happened, she felt something unexpected. Not anger, not pain, just distance. The man standing in front of her no longer felt like the center of her world. He felt like someone from a life she had already left behind. Chinedu looked carefully at her. Do you hate me? Ada thought about the question. Then she shook her head. No. Chinedu seemed surprised. I don't hate you, but I don't love you anymore either. Those words landed like a final verdict. Chinedu lowered his eyes. Ada adjusted her bag on her shoulder. I hope you learn from this, she said quietly. Then she turned and walked away. This time, Chinedu didn't try to stop her. He simply stood there watching as the woman he had once called his wife disappeared into the crowd. Months later, Ada stood on the balcony of her new apartment. The evening breeze moved gently through the air. Her life was different now, but it was peaceful. Sometimes she still thought about the message that had changed everything, the message that had shattered her marriage, but she no longer saw it as the worst day of her life, because that message revealed the truth, and the truth gave her the courage to walk away. Ada smiled softly to herself. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't destroy you. Sometimes, it saves you from a life you were never meant to live. And as she stepped back inside her apartment, closing the balcony door behind her, Ada finally understood something important. Her marriage had ended, but her life was only just beginning.